This is amazing.
It's incredible.
As you know, John wrote this amazing graphic novel, Ghetto, Klown, and we're going to talk about it a little bit because I think to really appreciate it, you have to read it and see those beautiful drawings.
An amazing team of illustrators from Brooklyn, Krista Casano and Seamus Bialy, and it was amazing because I brought them to play, and I felt like this play could be a graphic novel. It travels through a lot of time and space, life, neighborhoods, eras, and the dialogue really lent itself to shorter sort of bubbles, thought bubbles. So when I went to them and they started drawing, and I gave them a lot of photographs of my family, of my life, videos. I gave them addresses to Google, and
they stalked your family.
Yeah, I came very naked to them. I said, "Let me give you everything. I want to see my life come to life," and they did. They surprised me. One of the things that I'm most proud of is this book.
That's amazing. It's really incredible. And I wonder if there were any specific what brought you to bring it to book form, and were there specific challenges in telling this story that were different in book form, you think, than as a live performance on stage?
You know, it was really interesting because it wasn't that difficult, because the one-man show has to be sort of an abbreviated format. It's very haiku, and like the dialogue has to be very concise, and it has to represent something different than what I'm doing physically. Otherwise it becomes redundant. And kind of like graphic novels, the same thing. The picture has to represent something a little different and inform a little different than the dialogue.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some things I trimmed. Obviously, there were some things I can do on stage where I can rant and go on, and it becomes funnier as I go on. That in print isn't as funny. It just looks like a lot more to read. So that stuff. And I wasn't able to see that. The editor from Abrams Books helped me out a lot, and David Cashion. So that that relationship is a very important relationship.
The editor relationship.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah. Did much of the change in the format of a book, or was the things that were edited out, or did you adjust the parts of the story at all?
No, just a couple of long rants that were really funny on stage that were not so funny on. They just lost. You couldn't translate the energy and the anger and the humor of it.
Well, there is a lot of energy and anger and humor in the book, so whatever you did put in there really came across really well. It's amazing. So we're really proud of being connected to Queens here at the LIC.
I can tell, yeah. And why not? LL Cool J's from Queens, John Favreau, Ray Romano, John Turturro, Q-Tip, Tribe Called Quest, Nicki Minaj.
That's right.
Pre-booty. Nicki Minaj.
I don't know. A lot of you, if you have Ghetto Klown, a copy of Ghetto Klown, there's a really amazing
turn to page
drawing. Turn to page 4.
It's gonna be a read along.
There's a map of NYC where Manhattan is a penis. Columbia is tagged in the top there as an anus. And Queens is a scrotum. That's brilliant.
Columbia isn't an anus. The little town that I was from was an anus. The anus of Columbia was where I'm from. Not that Columbia's an anus. For all the Colombians who started going, hey, don't denigrate, hey.
So I wonder if you've been in Queens now, how many years? Or when did you first move to Queens?
Well, I moved to Queens when I was 3 years old. We emigrated here during the Great Plantain Famine of
yeah,
we ended up here.
There's plenty of plantains.
Actually, it was a civil war. And we ended up here. And my parents, when they got here, oh my, they were trying to speak English all the time, and their accents were so thick, they couldn't understand each other. I wanted to tell you something, but you cannot do it. But what did you? I cannot. What you trying to tell me? It was impossible. They needed subtitles.
It's the struggle of assimilation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So I wonder if you could maybe share your thoughts on how Queens has changed or stayed the same over the years. Maybe some stories of what you think is that what Queens essence has remained and what's been different over the decades.
Well, Queens is a fascinating. I mean, I got to say, there's a certain part of Queens that I think is a little more fascinating than the rest. And I got to say, is Jackson Heights, Elmhurst, and Corona. That area is the most fascinating because it's regarded, you know, geographically as the most diverse in the world, the most diverse per square mile in the world. The diversity is incredible, and you know, I knew that firsthand because when we moved here, we were the second Latin family in the block and triggered white flight. And I'm not talking about the snow goose migrating north. I'm talking about your Italians, your Irish, your Jews, and your Germans all leaving, and the rest of us taking over. And we helped trigger that, and I'm very proud of that. Of course, they didn't leave without beating me up, each ethnic group, as I chased their daughters. And hey, you better not touch my daughter, forget about it, knuckled sandwich, hey!
Builds character, right? That's what they say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it forged who I am.
Getting beat up.
Yeah. It does. I mean, it prepared me for Hollywood.
Yeah, there's a lot of really amazing stories in Ghetto Klown on set of various movies. You've been in Carlito's Way, stories with Al Pacino and Sean Penn. And have any of these people been in touch with you since Ghetto Klown?
Well, Steven Seagal said he's going to knock me out at the next red carpet. But he's not making any movies, so I'm not worried. I'm not hating, I'm just stating facts. I'm not a hater. I'm a fact collector. And that's what Nicki Minaj was pre-booty was a fact as well, wasn't a hater. Actually, I love it. I actually love it. And Pacino wouldn't come and see my play, but he was told not to from his best friend Harvey Keitel and his girlfriend. They told him, we love it, but he shouldn't see this. It's fantastic. He'll never come.
Protecting you, maybe.
Yeah, him, me, both. Our friendship.
That's great.
I mean, I don't think I really did him a disservice there. I mean, I think it was more about showing sort of my ambition at the time and how I wanted to prove myself to him, and I was very young and I just wanted to own every scene, and I was a little too much. I was one of those guys that was just way too much, and poor Pacino had to put up with that, but ended up having a lot of chemistry on camera.
Yeah.
Because I made up every one of my dialogues. And the writer came and he was like, John, you've added so many fucks to my dialogue. Why did you do that? I go, man, that's how they talk in the street. I gotta represent how the fucking shit goes down. If I don't talk like this, who am I? Am I really a gangster? I mean, what kind of gangster does use, says freak and friggin'? We just don't.
Yeah. Was doing your one-man shows, didn't you feel the freedom to do that in a way, or there's a lot of the book is about, I think, kind of growing up through your career, right? And coming to be comfortable in your own skin and working with other people in different ways.
Well, the book is really sort of a how to not do what I did. That's really basically what it really is. It's sort of, I made a lot of huge mistakes. I came from a very troubled childhood and troubled upbringing here in Queens, because it was kind of rough, and then it came with me. It would save me in these ghetto areas. Kind of also became sort of a hindrance to me. And when I go to these sets and people wouldn't compromise, I get very aggressive, and it was like the only kind of way I knew how to be was. And then, you go to therapy and you learn how to have different levels in the conversation, how to negotiate a little better, and that's how I negotiate now. I compromise and negotiate. I don't always have to win. Maybe it hurts my art, I'm not sure. I have a lot more friends. Friends, success, I don't know what's more important.
It's all a balance. I think it's very important in New York that we all go to therapy.
You got it. I mean, it's a big industry here. At $300 a pop?
Yeah. So I think it's got to be bigger than a financial industry.
It's got to be.
It's got to be.
I mean, on my block alone, there's a couple buildings that are all full of therapists. And I know every time anybody walks into that building, oh, they need help. People put on their dark glasses and they go out, oh, they were crying. Somebody's about to leave her.
Let's talk a little bit about the role.
I'm not making that shit up. It's true.
Who's that? Who has an amazing laugh?
Yeah, I know. I love that.
You warned me, and it's amazing. I love your laugh.
You want to bottle that laugh and keep it there. It's infectious.
That's great. I'm going to introduce you to my husband. He has is like a crazy laugh too, like the male and female.
Oh
crazy.
yeah, my friend has the same laugh, but he's a man too. He laughs like Dennis Brooks.
You should marry him because I did well with mine.
All right. I'll ask my wife if I can marry him. Dennis is curmudgeonly. I don't know about that.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the role that mentors have played in your life. And there's early on in the book, there's a woman.
She read the book. I can tell you.
I read the book twice.
Yeah, to get it right, or because you liked it so much?
At first it was upside down.
I'll make it different.
The drawings work either way.
Yeah.
But Sylvia Myrtle is mentioned early on, and I love you refer to her as Tweety.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
this great depiction by the illustrators. She looks like Tweety Bird in the drawings. This tiny woman with the spiky hair.
She was this cute little white lady, and I was 17, and I was having a lot of trouble in high school, and they forced me to go to therapy, which that's my beginnings of going to therapy. Till I was 21, I had to go. And Youth Counseling League, which was an amazing program, so I want to pay tribute to that. But my math teacher, Mrs. Ufa, he was like, you know, Mr. Leguizamo, stop being annoying in class, stop disrupting. If you could just use that comedy to become a comedian. If they can make penicillin out of moldy bread, they can make something out of you. Please. I'm going to talk to you because it's so life-affirming over there. But I really did listen to him. You know, he was a mentor to me, and a lot of. I think people, when you come from a disadvantage growing up, you need somebody to come from the outside and pat you on the back or say you're okay, you're worthwhile, you can do this. Because there was no way without that I would have made it out. You know, I would have never made it to become anything. And that's why I felt it was really important to pay tribute to mentors in the book and to show who they were and how they came forth and gave me the opportunities. You know, you need that, and we don't have enough, and people should always remember that they got to give back at some point. Yeah.
Can you mention the name of that shout out you gave to that organization again? I just want to make sure I hear that. You said the
Youth Counseling League.
Yeah.
Yeah, you paid you know, we were broke, so you know, I paid some of my salary, like it was like $1, I think, or $2, to go to therapy, and it was until you were 21. Till I was 21, then I aged out.
That's amazing. That's a great program.
It was amazing, man. It changed my whole life. It changed me completely. All of a sudden, I stopped being sort of self-sabotaging and you know, self-destructive, and boom, I was able to focus my energy. Plus, the acting too together came. They converged, and boom, I was like, oh wow, reading plays. I read every play I could read. It became like my best friends. O'Neill, Arthur Kopit, Shepard, you know, Tennessee Williams, everything.
Yeah, I think I heard an interview you did talking about O'Neill being one of the first things you read that was somebody's own life in their writing, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, true that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first play that was autobiographical. I guess it was the first autobiographical piece, maybe historically, you know.
Long Day's Journey into Night.
Yeah, because everything else is sort of fictionalized. Even Proust, Remembrance of Things Past is kind of fictionalized. But this was not fictionalized because he didn't want it out there until 25 years after his death, and as soon as he died, his wife published it. Cha-ching! But it's so raw, and you could read it. I mean, it's so powerful that how words and language can transmit sort of like the energy that went into that piece, how raw and naked that piece was. When you read it, you feel like you're tapping into something so raw and so true, and sort of I always wanted to tap into sort of that molecular movement, you know. So when I did my pieces, Freak and Sexaholics and Ghetto Klown, I was always trying to tell the truth and would force myself to tell the truth. And you know, it was embarrassing and painful, and you know, when you don't fictionalize your stuff, it has a lot of consequences, family-wise. I'm not gonna lie, you know, it's not easy, man. You have to constantly be apologizing. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. You know? I don't really mean it, but yeah, you gotta just apologize. You gotta go.
Yeah, that's definitely something I want to talk about when we get everybody up here, because I think that family plays such a big role in all of our writers reading tonight. Or I should flip my words. Writers reading, writers reading rainbow, reading. Yes, okay, great, I got it. But something in Ghetto Klown that I noticed too is you're so honest about the experiences of depression that you had, and it seemed that writing helped you in getting through that depression,
Absolutely.
getting out that depression. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, the point of it was, you know, I mean, in America, it's hard. I mean, it's a country that you always got to be happy and always got to be succeeding, but that's not the reality of life. And depressions are important. You know, they sort of like, sometimes they're a new birth, or you can rejuvenate yourself, and that happened to me. You know, one of my first big depressions was 17, and that was when I started to go to acting school and therapy, and sort of I found my career. And then again, when I was in my 20s, I had another one, and you know, they're kind of paralyzing. You can't leave the house, and you're paranoid. I couldn't answer the phone, and we had phones back then, you know, regular phones. And but they're important, man. They're important. If you could just acknowledge. I mean, they're part of life, and so especially for an artist, they're really important to accept them. And comedians have a huge problem. You know, it becomes we put a lot of self-pressure on ourselves, like Dave Chappelle and Steve Martin and Cat Williams. I mean, and Robin Williams. You start putting so much pressure on yourself to be perfect, to be super funny all the time, and everything's got to be better each time. And you know, perfect can't be. And at some point, that's what happened to me, and sort of had a nervous breakdown, and I documented in the book so that other people who suffer from these things, or that's why it's a how to not be like me, you can find ways, maybe hopefully that won't happen to you.
Thank you for sharing those stories, and I think it's true that it does help for people to see that other people are going through things, you know, and they get through it. And then, but what was it about writing itself that was like powerful to you to help you work through those things, or to?
Well, my therapist always put it beautifully. He said, you know, my therapist, Dr. Tillum, who sounds just like my dad, but on Xanax. I'm not lying.
That's how
He's
you
from Argentina.
That's how you picked him as a therapist?
No, I didn't. It was crazy coincidence. It was the universe, my higher power. And he's always, you know, the art is the way we work through our traumas. And I was like, yeah, that's what it is. You know, art, writing, whatever the art form you have, it's such a great way of taking control over the trauma you've had. And art has always been that for me. It's always been sort of my safety net. You know, it brought me back to life. It gave me, you know, a lot of hope, and it's always saved me. It's always been there for me, and it's something very, very healing for me.
That's great. I want to applaud that. I'm going to ask you one more question before we get our other writers up here and have a little panel discussion. So you mentioned your therapist was like your father on Xanax, and or sounded like your father.
Sounded like my father. He is kind of like my father on Xanax. He's so low key and mellow, and my dad is not.
No, well, so speaking of, there's a scene. We get a Klown, I think maybe once or twice, where you're talking about your life and your career goals with your father in the bathroom while he's on the toilet.
Yeah.
Did that really happen?
Yeah, my dad was, I don't know, maybe it's an old school thing. Well, my dad always talked to me when he was on the toilet. You know? It was like, Dad, we gotta talk now. You gotta come over here. I gotta tell you something right now. I go, Dad, can I just wait till the door's open? You're like, oh, Jesus Christ. What did you say? Nothing. It's okay. What? You know, and you gotta wait, and then, yeah.
It's an intimate conversation.
Way too intimate. Nobody should be subjected to that.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Let's give a big round of applause. Thank you. I'm going to ask our beautiful readers, Tracy and Mira, to come up here and join us.